Hello, mon lubne pija ali gindo teverden presentation saba du ale. If any of you were confused as to what I just said, don't worry about it. I just introduced myself in a combination of 9 different languages. I don't know about you, but keeping track of sentences similar to this would be nearly impossible for me. And unless you're a master code shifter, then you probably agree with me. Dutch, French, English, Irish, Danish, Turkish, Macedonian, and Cubano were all featured in that one sentence. Now, imagine you traveled to 9 countries that natively spoke those same 9 languages. You'd be scrambling around, looking for others who speak whatever your one native language is. And if you can't find that person, your travel could be miserable, confusing, and possibly dangerous. I'm going to ask you to imagine a scenario again now, but this time, imagine the whole world commonly speaking a single language, a universal language. All people, no matter where you would travel to, it could be Tuvalu for all that I know, would speak that one language. No longer will you have to ask people what specific street signs say. No longer will you have to ask for specific store clerks. No longer will you have to be confused over your summer vacation. No longer will you accidentally walk into the ladies' room, for all you gentlemen out there. My choice to take the journey through the world of language did not come out of the blue. Ever since I was a young boy, I've been traveling all around the world to live in different countries. These travels have led me to living in South Africa, the Netherlands, now I'm here in the US. Because of all this traveling, I've been exposed to a multitude of languages. So when it was time to choose a TED topic, the many languages I had heard popped into my mind. At first, I thought of writing a speech on how languages start and how they are maintained, but that was not intriguing enough. Then I realized that sometimes all these languages around me became confusing, and I thought it would be great if there was a way to speak to all people. I thought it would be great if there was a universal language. This idea sparked other ideas in my mind, and I began researching the positives and negatives of a universal language. The first element of a universal language I came across was a language called Esperanto. This language, I had never heard of this language before, so my next stop was to explore the world of Esperanto. Esperanto was a language written by Dr. Ludwig Lazarov Zamenhof. The Jewish eye doctor got the idea of Esperanto when he wanted a politically neutral world. He thought it would be great if there was an easy and efficient way to communicate across country borders. After the language's publication in 1887, Esperanto slowly began to grow. And by slowly, I mean extremely slowly. In over 100 years of the language's existence, Esperanto only has 1,000 native speakers, but the language has heaps of potential. If Dr. Zamenhof's ideologies were to come to life, many aspects of the human world would be revolutionized. A possible change with the addition of a universal language would be the education system being greatly improved. As of now, many foreign students come to new countries, and because they don't speak the native language, they often find it difficult to become a comfortable part of the school community. This, unfortunately, can lead to many students becoming discouraged because they feel like they can't really contribute as much as they should. Now, if you add a universal language into the equation, this will no longer be a problem. Students, regardless of their mother tongue, will feel like they can become that part of the school community. This could make colleges all around the world seem much more accessible to aspiring young students. Additionally, the scientific world would be transformed with the introduction of a universal language. Nowadays, scientific transcripts are written in hundreds of different languages, and this makes it extremely difficult to keep track of all of them without losing a few. And the few that are lost could be some of the most important findings out there. Yet again, I found that a single common language could lessen this barrier and possibly preserve new scientific findings. The last main advantage of Esperanto, and this one was the real clincher for me, is that a single universal language could somewhat unite different countries. Now, many countries often find it hard to understand each other because of the language difference. This can often lead to many conflicts, but if you have a universal language, bordering countries will find it much easier to keep in contact with each other and understand each other. This could result in many less conflicts. At this point, you're probably thinking, this wonderful speaker had just convinced me that a single universal language would be perfect for society. I also thought that when I was planning my speech. A language like Esperanto is easy to learn and it is efficient. If everyone were to take the language for 3 months, the time it takes to become fluent, a single universal language would be started in no time. A common language seemed too good to be true for me. The seemingly perfect language then put a bit of doubt into my mind. I knew there had to be some downsides, because if there weren't any, the world would already be speaking something like Esperanto. This then led me into my second cycle of research, where I began to research the negative sides of a universal language. Unfortunately, this cycle was not as successful as the other one. The only real negative I found was that a universal language would be difficult to spread to multiple countries, but to me, this was much weaker than the advantages of a universal language. So I was about to put my pen down and come to the conclusion that there should be a universal language, but I came across an article written by linguistic anthropology professor Gillian Cavanaugh. Her article had a few firm reasons on why there should be a universal language, but one line out of the whole article stood out to me. Ms. Cavanaugh stated that different languages are often part of specific cultural traditions and histories, and that people feel that language is an important part of who they are and where they come from. This then formulated a whole new concept in my mind. I realized that a common language was, in fact, too good to be true. The generation of a ubiquitous language would be detrimental to the cultures of our society. The biggest reason why a single universal language would be inimical is because the diversity of our world would be somewhat lost. Language is identity. Different people in different countries speak different languages, and because of this, they have different identities. People want to have different identities, just like they want to wave different flags, root for different teams, listen to different music, have different opinions, even though your mom is probably right. But this can only be achieved if there are different languages. The start of an official universal language would slowly make the beautiful variety of our world vanish. I'm now at the point where I'm trying to decide which route is better for society, having a single common language but losing a part of who we are, or never having that communication tie but keeping that true part of ourselves. For weeks now, I've been battling between the two options, but I've come to realize that maybe choosing between them is not the best option. Maybe there could be a way to combine the two. I have formulated some sort of a plan for this, and it goes like this. Instead of having a whole universal language, there could be a system of essential phrases that everyone would know. This can, for example, allow students to travel safely. It can somewhat ensure scientists that their transcripts won't be lost, and it can almost link different countries. This plan would also be beneficial because one's culture would not be flooded out by a whole new language. They would only have to learn a few essential phrases. Well, so what? Why do I care, and why should you? The start of an official universal language is right around the corner. As of now, English is serving as a cross-country communication medium, and soon it could become the language that Dr. Zamenhof hoped for. In all the places I've traveled, English is either the main language or a secondary language. And in my life, and probably most of yours, English has been a part of it. And if not, you probably have zero clue what I've been saying up till now. But now you will be able to envision what the world would look like if everybody spoke the one language. Our world would change drastically, for some the better and for some the worse. But we must prepare ourselves for the possible change. I now have a tremendous understanding of both sides of the idea, and you all should have that same understanding. I hope this speech has sparked an idea in your mind, and you are now beginning to think all the directions us humans can go from a language standpoint. Thank you.